All right, what's up, guys? Little different look today. We're missing someone on the unusual podcast. Sad to say, it looks like James passed away. He won't be coming back. It's gonna be hard to do this episode without him. Because we kind of started this thing ourselves, but the show must go on. It's Hollywood. It's Hollywood. No, I'm just kidding. James, I guess, didn't feel too good. I don't know. I think he probably had the same tacos that Cowboy Cerrone had over the weekend, because he was supposed to fight, and then he ended up not fighting because he got food poisoning or something. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna spread the rumors that that's what happened. He ended up eating some tainted taco meat, and now he can't be on the show. So, like I said, the show must go on. I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe I might do my own thing, like a little monthly one where we get deeper into politics or, I don't know, like very controversial topics, or maybe sports, UFC, things like that, maybe start my own thing and we can get in deeper in these kind of like, conversations and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know if anyone has like a name we can call it or something. Like, I don't know, what should I call it? Like the rat hole or something?
The rat hole.
It could be, right? Rat hole, like you get like into a wormhole or a black hole of videos and stuff like that, I think it'd be pretty cool. Little like separate side gig we can probably do. How like sometimes James doesn't like to talk about certain things.
He doesn't.
Like you bring up some topics and stuff and you'll try to like steer away from it. I don't know why. It's like, come on, bro. It's like it's 2022, man. Let's open up these conversations and talk about some weird stuff, But I don't know. Maybe he's just like a politically correct type of person.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe you're like the politically correct, and he's more politically.
I guess, yeah. But I mean, that's not that I'm unpolitically correct. I just have different views, I'd say I'm like conservative, but I'm also very liberal in a sense, Like I have very open-minded ideas with certain liberals and stuff. Like I get a lot of the stuff that they're trying to do and things, but also I can I can also see my way on the other side as well, where some certain views I agree with, but then there's some certain views that like conservatives has that I do not agree fully, mm-hmm. Like some way out there stuff, like a lot of conservatives are very like conspiracy theorists and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like I heard a bunch of stuff like they're aliens or secretly there's lizard people inside the the government, things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's kind of out there. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see if we can start our own thing and go from there, and then pretty much. So today's Monday. What's today's date? The
9th.
The 9th, May 9th. So what is it? 4 days after Cinco de Mayo. Mm-hmm. One of the, I guess, the most popular holidays here in the States. I don't know why. People like to have fun, I guess.
People like to drink.
People like to drink. People like to party. But usually when that happens, it's like, what is it, May 5th, we usually have a bunch of boxing matches and stuff like that. Usually Mexican fighters try to pick the date closest to that, so that way it's like more eyes on them, things like that. But what's been going on in the world, Vanessa? Anything new? Same old stuff?
Same old stuff. I have nothing.
Nothing to contribute. Okay, so
I'm a pretty boring person.
Looks like I'm gonna have to, how do you say it? Carry this show on my shoulders, I guess, right? Nothing new. That's what I always do. That's what I do in life, I just make, try to bring conversation topics and things like that. But I guess we can start with my first topic that I wanted to talk about. So if you've been living under a rock or something, I guess you'll find out that supposedly, well, it's not supposedly now, it's more of like it's actually happened, that the Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights in a draft opinion shows. So what really happened was, I guess the Supreme Court was voting on something eternally, and they were voting to overturn Roe versus Wade, which Roe versus Wade has to do with the pretty much kind of saying like abortion isn't federally banned.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's not a law for someone to get, I guess, jail time if they choose to have an abortion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Federally. Obviously, each state has like their own opinion on certain thing like that, but I think like nationwide, it was like okay, I guess, in a sense. So what happened was, I guess, yeah, they were voting and someone leaked inside from the Supreme Court like the decision that was coming out. Now, a lot of people look at it as a good thing, you know, like, yeah, they were going to vote on something that we're highly against them getting rid of, and we need to voice our opinions and go, you know, show our support against them trying to repeal this act, right? But then you also have the other side where someone's like, you cannot leak news that is going inside the Supreme Court, right? Because that's like fucking illegal. So you have those people that believe that they shouldn't have done that, and then now that these other people are going to be protesting and causing like a ruckus to kind of sway the judges to vote the opposite side of what they already initially thought about voting, right? So you kind of get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So they feel like, I guess more conservatives feel like this news was leaked in order for, I guess, liberals to go and protest and try to sway the votes of the Supreme Court justices. Now, my whole thing with the whole Supreme Court thing is I think it got lost when they started like categorizing Supreme Court justices as conservative or liberal, you know, because the Supreme Court justice shouldn't vote on their conservative views or their liberal views. They should vote based on what's on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. So they shouldn't vote for, I don't know, like this the right to bear arms against it because, oh, I'm liberal, I'm against it, you know? Or if you're conservative, no, you should vote yes for it because I'm, you know, conservative, and we all conservatives agree with the Second Amendment, right? But truth of the matter is, you should only vote based on what it says on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Obviously, you can change certain things, like you can make new amendments and things like that, right? But I think that's where I kind of lose, like, I guess, faith in it in the sense because a lot of people started like categorizing them, like, you know. So I think one bad thing that's going on is that I guess there's a lot of people protesting and going to some Supreme Court justices' houses and protesting outside their homes. I mean, you know, it's kind of rough, you know, when you got that kind of stuff going on. So then it's like, you know, do you blame them to be like, damn, maybe I should vote like against or the opposite from what I thought, so that way we can keep it? I mean, you can't really blame them on that kind of stuff. So this is an article from Politico. Take it as you want. Politico is very liberal in a sense, and they say like they do a lot of fact checking, but Politico has an agenda, so they're very, very liberal. So it says the Supreme Court has voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision according to an initial draft majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, circulated inside the court and obtained by Politico. So it was leaked to Politico, I guess, what was going on right there. So basically, but I mean, from what I've read, certain things is like they're not like making it illegal for you to have an abortion. They're just giving it up to the states, you know? So the states can decide and say, hey, we want to make abortion legal. We want to make abortion illegal. Now, a lot of people say, well, there's over 20 states in this country where they're more on the conservative views, where they want to ban abortion. Now, for some people, that's a bad thing, you know, like they want to be able to have that access to have safe and legal abortions. But then you have, well, my whole thing on this is what happens when you have two extremes, okay? You have one extreme where one side of the party wants to get rid of it completely, right? They want to just ban it, make it illegal. You can't have it anywhere, no matter what circumstances, either if there is, you know, you were assaulted, you know, or incest, things like that. You know, they just, they don't want you to have, that option. Or maybe, for instance, like when someone's pregnant and then like you can possibly lose the baby, you know, or no, not lose the baby. You can lose your life if you have the child. They don't want you to have that option to, you know, abort the child because of your health issues, which I don't agree with, you know. So you have one side that wants to get rid of it completely, but then you have another side where it's like the complete opposite, where they're going to another extreme, where they're, you know, well, if you want to get rid of abortions, we'll come up with some laws where we can have abortions up to 7 months. You know what I mean? And it's perfectly fine. And then you have other states where I think it was Colorado, where I don't know if it passed or if it was going to pass, where if someone's having a failed abortion and the baby somehow survives that failed abortion, then the doctors aren't legally allowed to keep that baby alive. I think there was like a law that was trying to pass on like something like that. So that's my whole thing, is like you have one extreme where they want to get rid of it, and then you have another extreme where this guy kind of like on that edge and it's like, I don't know, you know, really 7 months. You know, there's kids that are born at 6 months and they're able to survive, obviously with like, you know, incubation and NICU and all that stuff. So I don't know, it's like kind of a stretch. Like, you know, this is just my opinion. I know I generally, my opinion on this is, if you're able to live with your decision and have all that, to have an abortion and everything like that, that's totally cool. You know what I mean? I'm a guy. I shouldn't be making decisions for women and what they want to do. Now, is it wrong? You know, look at it on the other side. Is it really wrong for a person to really believe that like a small embryo has a soul? Is that really such a bad thing? It's not, right? At least, but you know, but if you're okay with that decision of like, you know, hey, I really can't have this child, or really I can't, you know, I don't want another human being in my life like that, or, you know, whatever, it doesn't really matter. If you're okay with having that decision to get rid of that embryo or the fetus or whatever you like to refer them to, then that's okay, you know. But I do think that it's kind of on that, like that threshold, you know, where it's like 7 months and then you're like, oh, you know what? I changed my mind, you know, type of deal. I know, granted, there's some people that don't know if they're pregnant up till like probably too late, right? There's like those TV shows, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know I was pregnant. Like, what?
With one of the ladies.
Yeah, with the lady that I guess she thought she was constipated, remember?
Yeah.
There's like a story like that. She thought she was constipated and she couldn't poop,
Yeah.
but then it ended up she was pregnant, you know? But I understand there's like, you know, those circumstances and stuff, but I don't know, like, you know, when someone can, I guess, have an abortion at 7 months, it's kind of like, I don't know. What's your opinion on it?
I think 7 months is just way too late. It's like you've already had opportunities, you know, to really think about it and to think about it in your life. Like you said, like if they want to have that option, then that's fine. But 7 months, it just does not seem like even possible to be doing that, because that's a kid. That's
Pretty
a baby.
much, yeah. Well, that's
you know?
that's the argument that some people are saying. You know, like, you know, there has been occasions where kids at, I think, 5 months, right? There's been a couple rare, I guess, rare things where a child at 5 months have been able to survive. So, but like I said, I mean, it's not my decision. I shouldn't. I'm not making the decision for it. I'm just like kind of trying to just open people's minds and just look at it from both ways, you know? Is it wrong to have an abortion? I don't think so.
I do think the majority of people, though, think that 7 months is too late. I think it's a lot of talk, like on the internet, and a lot of people being mad.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, okay, you want to say that, I'm gonna up it up and I'm gonna say something else.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to prove. It's like you have one extreme where they want to get rid of it, and then you have another extreme like, oh yeah, you want to get rid of it? Let's see how far we can take this, you know? And I truly do believe at 7 months is kind of like an extreme, you know? Because then what are you going to do? Like, are you going to have the child and then be like, is that another something someone might come up with? Like, oh, I can have the child. And then at that moment I can decide, will I keep it or should I get rid of it? You know, and it's not like not get rid of it by like abortion. I mean, get rid of it, like get rid of it, you know? So I don't know. I just, you know, it's a touchy subject, you know, it's a touchy subject, especially, you know, when I guess a male voices his opinion on it, because, you know, you'll have like the people be like, well, you're a man, you shouldn't have an opinion on this. oh, you're a man, you don't know what we go through about it, you know? Which I get it. Like, I say, like, through the beginning of time, women have gotten the fucking short end of the stick off of everything. You know what I mean? Not having really a voice, having to pay taxes on feminine hygiene products, not being able to vote. What do you say? Like, I guess, you know, in the beginnings of times of, like, you know, like pay wage gap, you know, things like that. What else? Like, you know, being harassed at work, you know, having to be the secretaries for the longest of time and couldn't be the person in charge, you know? I get it. Like, it's, and it's still at times, you know, people are still, or I mean, women are being, like, you know, kept on a lower pedestal than certain men in certain jobs or certain, how would I say, like, opportunities, you know? But I don't know. It's tough, you know. Like, how do you come up with a solution to this? You know, I think my solution would be to obviously have that opportunity for women to have that available, but then also, you know, show. Even like guys have something to do with this as well, right? Because it just doesn't take just a woman to have a child. You know what I mean? You should educate people on, you know, how to protect yourselves, how to, you know, other options. There's adoption as well. You know what I mean? There's that.
I don't know. I always say, like, in today's times, like, if you want to have a kid, you're gonna have it. Like, there's no accidents really, because there's so much things available for you. There's so much things
available in this world, contraceptives, things like that. Obviously, sometimes, you know, like, birth control doesn't work with certain women. I totally get that as well. You know, it messes up with their moods or you know, the, what do they say? Like, it affects their bodies in a sense. You know, I totally get that as well. And then there's other options as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough, you know, and it's not going to be a quick solution. You know, next week they're going to be like, okay, we have this, because you're always going to have opposing sides to it. This time they might, you know, conservatives might fucking win. And then the liberals are the ones that are like, you know, now we got to do something about this and that. And then we have.
But what were they doing? Like, what were they drafting?
They were drafting, I guess they were going through the Planned Parenthood versus KC hearing, and then the Roe versus Wade. So I guess they found some discrepancies that didn't, I guess, add up or something. I'm not fully inversed, you know, with what goes on in the Supreme Court, but I guess, you know,
something
happened, something came up, and someone made a decision on it, and they decided to vote against it or for it, and it looks like that they voted against it. So it's going to be up to the states to decide. I mean, you know, it sucks because now, like, say for instance, like, there are certain girls that really do need to have an abortion, and they're not going to have that available for them, you know, or maybe they will, or they'll try to find a sketchy spot, you know, that isn't, like, you know, very safe to do. So, I mean, this is going to be an ongoing issue for the next couple of weeks, months, maybe years. So, you know, if anything else comes up, I'll bring it up, and then we'll talk about it. But that's, I guess, like a little political stuff that's going on in the news right now. So another topic that I wanted to talk about was pretty much what happened over the weekend. UFC 274 was it's pretty much one pretty dope ass card this year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had a main event, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. Women's strawweight was Rose Namajunas, Carla Esparza. Then you had Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson. And then the other ones were pretty much kind of like, you know, lame. Unless you're, like, balls deep in, like, UFC stuff, like you would like the Randy Brown and Chaos Williams fight. And then the Mauricio Shogun Rua versus OSP was an okay fight, but you would have to be, like, you know, balls deep into MMA to kind of, like, know what was that about. But there's some controversy with this whole card due to the fact on Friday when the weigh-ins were starting, and it turned out that everyone else weighed in but Charles Oliveira. I think it was like in the last 2 hours, he still hasn't weighed in. And then the last hour was like, he's still not here. And then from what I heard is that he weighed in the last 5 minutes that he was able to weigh in.
Mm-hmm.
So what a lot of people don't know, usually when you're fighting for a fight or a championship fight, you have to, like, say, for instance, this is 155, right? Lightweight. You're supposed to weigh at 155 on the dot. There's nothing over. There's nothing. You can weigh under, but you can't weigh over 155. Now, the last 5 minutes, he comes up and he's about to weigh. So for a lot of people, they say, if you're one of the last guys to weigh in, if you're like the main eventer and you're one of the last guys to weigh in, there is a problem, because you usually want to be one of the first ones to weigh in, due to the fact that as soon as you weigh in, that means you're good. You're ready to fight. You're set to fight.
You can start hydrating.
You can start hydrating, and then you start taking like meals, because obviously, like, when you're cutting weight, you're pretty much dehydrating yourself, right? So you can start hydrating, and then I guess the rule is you start eating meals, like really small meals, but like a lot of them throughout the day. So by Charles Oliveira getting there super late, that's already like a red flag. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he was having issues cutting weight. So he gets on the scale and he weighs in at 156. So everyone's like, yo, what the hell? So then he goes to weigh again. They do the whole like little covers thing. So he takes off his underwear and this and that. So when he weighs completely nude, he weighs 155.5. So then after that, they give him the opportunity to try to cut that extra half a pound in an hour. So an hour goes by, and then he goes and he tries to weigh in again, and then he weighs in at 155.5. Now, there's controversy because people are saying, they use that old school weigh scale thing where they do the little click, 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 Yeah. So they're saying that that's not a correct way to weigh people, or the most accurate way to weigh people. Now, they've been using it for years. I don't know why they're bringing that up right now. But then there's other people that make excuse. I think we were listening earlier where, they've been known to use that scale, and then when they put the weigh, it still hasn't settled, and then they'll just call it, we're like, oh yeah, 155, even though they could have been at 151. You know what I mean? So obviously that was the controversy behind it. So what happened was Charles Oliveira not lost his title, but had to vacate it. So because he didn't make weight. So when the fight happened, it was Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje had the opportunity to win the belt, while Charles Oliveira did not. He just had the opportunity to fight. He still got paid his pay-per-view bonus, and since he did win, he ended up getting his winning bonus and all that stuff. So that was a weird situation behind that, because the only way there would be a champion if Justin Gaethje had won, and he ended up not winning.
So what's next, though?
What's next is the fact that, after Charles Oliveira won, which was crazy because he was getting rocked in the first round, he pretty much fell on his back twice.
I saw that meme. It was like, well, if Charles gets hit in the first round, like, you lost the fight.
You lost the fight, Rich,
because his past 4 fights, it's been like that.
It's been like that. When he fought Dustin Poirier, he got knocked on his ass in the first round, but came back in the third round to win, right? Against, who else? Oh, Michael Chandler, he got knocked on his ass in the first round, and then he came back in the second round to win, right? Like literally right off the bat. So same thing kind of here, where he got knocked down twice, fell on his back, and then invited Gaethje to engage with them while he was on his back, which, you have your people would be like, why didn't Gaethje just get on top of him and ground and pounded him, right? Maybe he would have been able to stop the fight like that. But you're also talking about one of the best submission fighters in the UFC right now. He has the most submission wins in the UFC. So what does that say? He's probably pretty good on the ground, right? So why would Justin, risk that? He's already hurt. All right, let me back up and he'll stand him up, which is what the ref did. He stood him up twice in that first round. But Gaethje couldn't finish it off. So then in the beginning of the second, Charles was able to knock Gaethje down, and then he was able to get him on the ground and then pretty much submit Gaethje, which, it sucks for Justin Gaethje because I'm a huge Gaethje fan, but, it just shows how badass Charles Oliveira is at the end of the day, even though he lost the title, or not vacated the title, so he's technically not champion, but everyone in the world knows that Charles Oliveira is the number one 155-pounder in the UFC. So technically, he's like the uncrowned champion right now. So it's a good and the bad thing. People, want to be like, oh, they should have just given him the belt. But then it's like, there's rules for a reason, 155 is 155. You got to make weight in order to fight for the title. Well, the rules were made just so that people wouldn't have a physical advantage over other people. You know what I mean? So 0.5 pounds isn't a big advantage, isn't a physical advantage. Yeah, I get that, but there's rules for a reason. You know what I mean? You shouldn't like bend the rules just because we really like the guy and he's a good fighter because he missed weight. He missed weight. And I think it is what it is. And the good thing is that he won. He showed that he's the better guy. And he's going to have an opportunity to go again for the title pretty much. He's going to be the number one contender. So Dana White already said that in the post-press fight conference. He said he's going to be the number one contender, so he'll have an opportunity to be the undisputed champion again. So that'll be pretty cool when that comes up. And then the co-main event was Rose Namajunas against Carla Esparza, which...
I didn't even see that fight. So all I saw it was in Twitter, and it was like trending of how boring it was.
How boring it was, yeah. So we were talking here at the house, and he said like, "Oh, you didn't see the fight." So then, what did I do? I asked Ante, "Oh, what'd you think about the Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza fight?" And what did he say? He's like, "Oh, if they would have thrown bologna and bread on the ring
and made a sandwich,
and had them made a sandwich, it would have been a lot more entertaining than what the fight was." So it's kind of it kind of sucks because pretty much all of Rose's last 6 fights have been bangers off the bat, and for some reason this fight it didn't look like she was on her A game. From what I've seen, she was very reserved because of the fact that Carla Esparza is a really good wrestler, and the first time that they fought, Carla Esparza took her down and pretty much submitted her.
She won, huh? Yeah,
she won. So they fought, was it 6 years ago for the first time? It was the Ultimate Fighter, the reality show, and it was the final, and it was for the 115 belt, which is the belt that they were fighting for now. So Carla Esparza won. She was the first strawweight champion, women's division in the UFC. So then this was round 2. So the first round of this fight, there was only 6 punches thrown in the first round of this fight. So that goes to show you it was
there was not much movement.
Yeah, it was not much movement on that. So Rose looked like she was very fighting very conservative, watching not throwing that much kicks because she didn't want to get taken down. And I think that's what happened. And when I watched the post-fight press conference, Rose was saying that she was proud with her performance, that she really thought she won. And she stuck to her game plan, that was her game plan, to not get taken down. She got taken down twice, I think, and then there was maybe 8 attempts, I think, in the fight for takedowns. So here's 0 knockdowns, total strikes. There was 38 out of 137 for Rose, and then 30 out of 133 for Carla. Significant strikes was 37 out of 136 for Rose and 30 out of 130. Well, yeah, pretty much same thing. Takedowns. Rose had 1 takedown. Carla Esparza had 2 takedowns, but she had 11 attempts, and there was no submission attempts. So that kind of shows you nothing really happened in this fight. So then you have your people that say, well, Carla didn't win, right? Because, you have your old school mentality guys that would say, in order for you to win the championship, you have to beat the champion. You have to take it away from them. It has to be no questions that you won that fight. Well, judges thought that she won because I guess she had 1 more takedown than her. Honestly, I would have liked the tie at the end of the day. And it's funny because I don't know why, but the judges nowadays don't really want to do ties. I don't know what it is, but that's what's going on with that. And at the end of the day, I think they need to do more ties, so then that way they can continue having better fights. And so this fight should have been a tie. That's my opinion on that. It should have been a tie, and then Rose would have kept the title, and then they would have had to fight again. Or maybe Dana White would have been like, no, fuck this. I don't want them to fight again. So there's that. And then another story was the Michael Chandler Tony Ferguson fight, which was insane because it was probably one of the best knockouts of the year so far this year, 100%. And it started off with Tony Ferguson looking really good against Michael Chandler. Like, he was looking pretty good at first, and maybe even possibly won the first round. But I think Chandler was like looking a lot better towards the end of the first round when he took him down and just kind of like tried to do a little ground and pound. But even though like Tony Ferguson was on his back, he was still throwing some punches, some elbows and stuff like that, which is, you know, signature Tony Ferguson. They say he's dangerous off his back, so then that happened. And then second round was coming up, and then I guess Michael Chandler saw an opening. Tony brought his arms down and then just, you know, gave him the fucking, pretty much the Spartan kick to the face and knocked out Tony Ferguson on his ass. And he was pretty much down for like a good 2 to 3 minutes, I think, stiff as a board. And then when they brought him up to announce who won, like, Ferguson still looked out of it. It was insane because no one's ever knocked out Tony Ferguson like that, I think, in his career. He's always lost decisions, I think, for the most part.
How old is he, though?
Ferguson?
Like
how old is he?
Yeah.
Tony Ferguson doesn't say.
Because I feel like I've seen him forever.
Tony's been fighting for a while. Oh, it says right here, February 12th, 1984. Yeah, he's been fighting for a minute. I think he's been fighting for over like 12, 15 years. I mean, his record is 26-7. Michael Chandler's is 23-7, so they're not that far off, you know. But yeah, that was an insane fight. And then another big story was Canelo fighting Vival. Mm-hmm. He ended up losing, which is insane, you know, because I was talking to some people, I think on Friday, and I was like, oh, like, you know, they were like, oh, what do you think about the Canelo fight? And they're like, oh, you know, it's rigged, you know, Canelo's gonna win. How is he gonna lose in his own promotion, you know? So Canelo was moving up in weight again. I think he was fighting at 175. He was fighting the champion at 175. So at the end of the day, I tell people this shows that there's weight divisions for a reason. You know what I mean? You can be the best boxer in the world, which we know Canelo is the best boxer in the world right now. He's number one pound for pound. But there's a point once you get to a certain weight division where the guys are bigger, stronger, and probably not faster because he's probably going to be faster, but they're bigger and stronger and they can take harder punches, which everyone knows Canelo can hit pretty hard. And then he's going to hit that wall. You know, he tried all he can. He did the same thing like what he did with the other British guy. I think the guy that before he fought Billy Joe Saunders tried to hurt his arm, kept throwing that punch on his on the guy's Bivol left arm, and you can see at the end of the fight it was like kind of like welted and red, but with no luck, it went to decision, and they went with the unanimous decision over Bivol. I think they gave him like 8 rounds or something like that. So all 3 judges scored the fight. It was 113. And then the bout wasn't nearly that close still. Bivol needed to win the final rounds on all 3 cards to avoid a draw. But I think the public cards, a lot of people had Bivol winning, I think, like 8 rounds. 8 rounds to 4 for Canelo, which is pretty interesting, you know. Everyone thought that Canelo was going to steamroll this guy and ended up not being that. So that's pretty interesting. So there's a rematch clause. So what's going to happen is it looks like Canelo wants to take the rematch, which I fully don't think he should, you know, because it just kind of showed like how much the size difference does make. You know, we can use the UFC as an example where when Israel Adesanya went up to light heavyweight, you know, and he fought what's his name, Joan, or the Polish guy, and pretty much the Polish he was doing good. You know, when it came to striking, he was piecing up the Polish guy, But then the Polish guy's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to beat him like this. So what did he do? He played his game. He took him down, stayed on top of him, didn't allow him to get up, smothered him, beat him up on the points. And, there's nothing Israel can do because, once you get bigger and stronger guys, it's like you can be the best striker fighter in the world. It's not going to work out, So that's interesting. Oh, and then another interesting fact, I guess they were saying that Canelo announced that he was doing an all vegan diet for this camp, and that he was like, oh yeah, I feel real good and this and that. So now people are like making fun of him on going vegan, and I guess for it not working out. And then there's like some funny memes that I saw.
Well, now he could fight Jake Paul.
He was talking about it, but I don't think he should. Because, I mean, how many fights did Jake Paul have? Like 4 or 5 fights?
But it was the whole thing of, like, Jake Paul, like, calling him out, saying, give me 3 years. And it was like, you need 3 years?
You need 3 years? But, I mean, I don't think so. So, one of my favorite ones was this one. Where they were like, ¿Cómo le está yendo al Canelo? And then it's like his face, like, and it's all like his face is smushed in, like, how like the baby dolls, and you smush them in. That's pretty hilarious. That one's funny. And then they got this one where remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer was a boxer?
Oh yeah, and he was like fighting.
He was fighting, and then all he did was just take the punches, and like the guys would get tired. So then he was fighting the heavyweight champion, remember? Mm-hmm. And then Mo comes in and saves them and flies away. So they put Canelo as Homer Simpson getting taken away by Mo. That was funny.
I mean, it just also shows like you can't always win. Like everybody always thinks Canelo is gonna always win.
Always win, yeah, that's the thing. And then there's another one that says los patrocinadores de Canelo ahorita, and then it's Amber Heard crying. So pretty much saying Canelo's sponsors right now, and then they use a photo of Amber Heard crying. So, I mean, here's the thing with that. It's always been like this in boxing. As soon as someone loses, they kind of rule him out, Oh, yeah, he's on his downfall, And a lot of it has to do because of Mayweather, because he went, what was it, like 49-0 or 50-0? I guess with McGregor, when he fought McGregor. Or no, who did he fight? Logan Paul.
Who?
Remember Mayweather? He fought Logan Paul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he ended up becoming 50-0, right?
I don't think that was.
You don't think
that
was professionally? I don't know. Well, whatever. He won 50 fights. Put it at that. So a lot of it has to do with Mayweather because he went undefeated. So as soon as someone loses in boxing, especially in that high level, then they start like kind of like, oh, he's lost his touch type of deal, which it shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? Canelo's still top tier, fucking number 1 guy in the world. And it was funny because in the press conference, they asked Vival, he was like, hey, since you took out Canelo, do you think you're the pound for pound king of boxing now? And he said it best. He's like, honestly, no. He's like, I just beat a guy that was trying to take my belt. He's still the pound for pound king, of boxing, which he's correct, And that's good. That's kind of like a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? Like, a guy pretty much acknowledging, like, this guy was good, but, I got the best of him pretty much in this fight.
I'm also kind of tired of everybody being, I'm the best. No one can touch me. Like, that whole persona of, like, McGregor and, like, that Jake Paul.
Mayweather, things like that.
I'm kind of over it.
Yeah, I guess, but still, it's like, when you're the best, it's like, you're the best. So when people would hate on Mayweather about him saying, I'm the best ever, when he used to wear those hats, the TBE, the best ever, it's like, oh, he should be more humble, this and that. Well, I mean, he's technically the best right now, you know what I mean? So why should he be humble in the sense, And obviously, it's all a persona at the end of the day, too. So it became where someone wanted to watch him lose more. They would pay for his fights because they're like, oh, I hope he loses this time and I want to watch it. So they were kind of still helping him out at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I think, like, McGregor does it best, though. Like, that type of personality, that goes good with, like, saying I'm the best. Not everybody could like do it.
Yeah, because when he did it, he was he started off like that. You know, even when he was in the minors and Cage Warriors and stuff, he was very flamboyant and he would talk shit all the time, you know. So for him, it seemed more natural. Now for Mayweather, I remember when he started fighting, he was known as Pretty Boy Floyd, you know. So then once he started getting up there, then it became Money Mayweather because he was making tons of money off of that. So.
Like an example, I think would be like Ryan Garcia. Like he's kind of cringy. It's like I get it, but he's a little cringy.
He is a little cringy,
and I don't think it fits him, like that type of personality.
Yeah, even though he's pretty good, but he still has a lot to, you know, to go through, I guess, in boxing for him to kind of, you know, have that, I guess, that mentality. I don't know. You know, it's tough because it's like, you know, you can't really put yourself in their shoes because like, you know, it's a really hard thing to get in the ring to fight in front of people and
to have the mentality.
Have that mentality to fight in front of hundreds of people and hundreds of thousands of more people watch it on TV. It's kind of nuts, man. You know what I mean? And there's always a possibility of you getting knocked out and being put to sleep and then becoming a meme forever, or getting hurt, and getting hurt really, really bad. So, you know, it's just a different breed of people that do that kind of stuff, you know, and I highly respect it for sure. But the cool thing about it is that we all have opinions and we can all talk about it, you know what I mean? So that's a good thing about it. And then here's another meme where it's like, cuando ya te vas de la peda y la bocina es tuya. And it's him like picking up Vival, like when the party's over, but the speaker in the party is yours. You gotta pick it up. Oh man, so at the end of the day, the internet's always gonna be undefeated, and that's
no matter what happens.
No matter what happens, the internet's always gonna be undefeated, and it's great. So I guess last thing I have is during Saturday's UFC, they announced the fight card for the International Fight Week in July 2nd. So it's UFC 276, and it's headlined by Israel Adesanya against Jared Cannonier. Cannonier, the what do they call him? The Vanilla Gorilla, something like that. Yeah, Jared Cannonier. He's the one with he used to fight at heavyweight, and then he went down to light heavyweight, and then he went down to middleweight. He's the one with the crystals and all that stuff. You don't remember?
I don't.
Yeah, so that's the headliner, Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. It's going to be a banger off the bat. Cannonier is pretty good. You know, he's very explosive. And then, obviously, Israel Adesanya is, like, you know, the best striker in the UFC. So it's going to be a straight banger. So they have the co-main event, Alexander Volkanovsky against Max Holloway. That's going to be a good one, you know, the trilogy fight. It's funny because, you know, it comes with controversy because the second fight, a lot of people believed Max Holloway won, but they gave it to Alexander Volkanovsky, so it's going to be pretty cool. They'll be able to kind of settle it there. And then you have Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira, which is going to be a good fight as well. I'm a big Sean Strickland fan. He's pretty cool. And then you have Lauren Murphy against Misha Tate.
Oh, okay.
Okay one, you know.
Yeah.
Looks like they're because Lauren Murphy recently fought remember Shevchenko for the title, so they're throwing a pretty big bone for Misha Tate, you know, because she came back to UFC, so it's a good test for her to fight Lauren Murphy, and if she can beat her, she'll probably have a good opportunity to fight for the title again in women's flyweight. So that'd be pretty cool because I think she used to fight in bantamweight, Misha Tate, and she came back at bantamweight at 135. So now she's fighting in flyweight 125. So it might be good. She might be making a comeback, but I still think Valentina Shevchenko is pretty much the queen of that division, and no one's probably gonna take her out.
It's gonna be a while.
And it's pretty interesting how, like, you know, that's all coming around. And then we got on the pay-per-view Pedro Munoz against Sean O'Malley. Pedro Munoz. So, for those who don't know, Pedro
I'm so bad
Munoz,
with names.
I think he's ranked number...
Oh, okay, yeah.
What is he? Or is he ranked? Is he not ranked anymore?
I don't know.
It won't show anymore. I know Pedro Munoz has been he's been ranked before.
Oh, he's ranked number 10.
Oh, he's ranked number 10 in the division. Okay, cool. So that's good. So they're giving Sean O'Malley another ranked opponent. What, do they have Sean O'Malley ranked in the division or no?
I will check.
So this will be a pretty good how do you say it? Opportunity for O'Malley to kind of, start getting up in the rankings in the bantamweight division. Pedro Munoz isn't no joke.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be pretty cool.
Well, it says he's ranked number 13.
Oh, O'Malley,
Mm-hmm.
13. Okay, that's cool. So that'll be an interesting fight. Pedro Munoz. Who did he fight last? I can't remember who he fought last. Let's see if it'll pop up.
The last fight.
Oh, Dominic Cruz. That's who he fought.
Oh, yeah.
And he lost in the decision. Yeah, he did fight Dominic Cruz. I remember. It was in the prelims. And then he also lost to Aldo. He won to Rivera. Lost to Frankie Edgar. And lost to Aljamain Sterling. So there's that. And then let's look at O'Malley. So obviously O'Malley comes, with controversy because he still says he's undefeated, even though he has that one loss against him. Chito Vera. And he's, so that was what, four fights ago? Yeah, 2020. When he lost against Chito. I mean, it's gonna be pretty dope, man. I'm excited. I wonder how it's gonna be because Pedro Munoz is no joke too. Mm-hmm. He can scrap, so that'll be pretty cool. See how that turns out. So I mean, this card is always subject to change. Anything can happen. They can switch fights, cancel fights, people reject fights and stuff like that. But they also have Jessica I against Macy Barber in the prelims for that scheduled. So that'd be pretty cool. Macy Barber is trying to come up on the rankings as well. That'd be pretty nice. And then you have Robbie Lawler against Brian Barberena. It's always fun to watch Robbie Lawler fight in the UFC. And then you got Jessica Rose Clark against Julija Sotoralanco. I don't know. I want to be careful with that. Don't want to get canceled. So far, it's looking like a promising card. Obviously, whenever the July card, the International Fight Week, it's always going to be a banger. So they're always going to try to put their best fights. There was rumors that they were trying to put John Jones against Stipe Miocic, but I guess it didn't work out. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer for that one, or for John Jones to get his shit together. So,
if he ever does,
which has been like 8 years, he's been causing nothing but trouble. But yeah, so that's what's going on in the fight game with that, and that's pretty much it on my end. We got James coming back. We'll be I don't know if we're probably gonna do another episode this week or next week. We'll try it this week, but we'll recap our little adventures at Lucha Vavoom.
Oh, yeah, you guys went to
I went to Lucha Vavoom. It was cool. Not bad. I wanted more Lucha. They only had like 3 matches, I think. And the first match was like super quick. They had like a lot more like burlesque type deal,
But the name is Lucha.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it was like an off year or whatever. But yeah, they didn't have that much wrestling in it. And then they didn't really have any well-known people. At least in that, the only group that I known was the Crazy Chickens. That was pretty much it. But,
Crazy Chickens, which
was hilarious. So they had these guys fighting. It was the Crazy Chickens against Aquaman and and who else? Who else was with the guy? I forgot who else. Right? There was another masked wrestler. I've never heard of him before. But so it was the Crazy Chickens fighting, right? So it was at the point in the match where they had like a box and they were like getting beat up, Aquaman and the guy, and so they gave a gift to the Crazy Chickens, right? Mm-hmm. So the Crazy Chickens are like, oh, that's cool, whatever. So then they're like opening it, and then they look in it and they're like surprised, right? So then these guys like clothesline them, take them down, and then when they open up the box and they pull out a bucket of KFC, it's like chicken, right? So they're like, everyone's like, boo, like, you know, because the Aquaman and them, they were the rudos, they were the bad guys, you know, that's what they call the bad guys in lucha libre, the rudos, and then the good guys are the técnicos. So everyone's like, boo, boo. So then they're like taking a bite out of like the KFC or the chicken that they had, and it was funny because they're throwing, they like, the other guy threw a leg. And then the Aquaman guy had and threw the leg too, and he threw it kind of in like our direction where we were at. And you cannot write this shit up. It was literally the only black guy in the crowd was the guy who caught the chicken. He was like, yo, he was like pumped. He's like, hell yeah, and he even fucking took a bite out of it and shit. It's so hilarious. So like, you can't even make this shit up. There was probably like maybe 2 or 3 black guys in the Mayan theater or something, but he was one of them, and he's the one who caught it. And then he caught it, and then I was like, damn, that's kind of racist. But no one really heard me, but whatever. It was funny. It was cool. It was a little experience. I'd rather go to like, you know, like the local shows that you see, like when you're getting off the freeway and then they have the sign, LA Park, you know what I mean? And then Blue Demon Jr. and shit. I'd rather go to those because those probably get a little bit more, you know, intense. You know, I've seen some videos on Instagram of these fools like getting in the crowd and having the matches and stuff like that. So I'll probably go to one of those, or maybe another WWE event. Those get pretty good.
Those are fun.
Yeah. So I took a lot of video of us going there. So I'm still working on editing that video, like a little vlog. So we'll post that on our page as well. And then or that's pretty much it for today. Little solo episode. Didn't think it was that bad, but it's okay. I know I carry this show at the end of the day. I'm pretty much the guy in this, so felt only natural, you know what I mean? Just for me to be here by myself, because I'm always, you know, I'm usually the guy that's always bringing up the topics and stuff like that. So,
well, technically you're not by yourself.
I technically am, because you're here, but then you're not really here because you don't really chime in that much and you don't have much to contribute. You know, so there's that. I'm not saying that you're useless, but you're just above that, honestly.
At least I'm above.
You need to do a little bit more. But yeah, this is either episode 10 of the Unusual Friends podcast, or it's gonna be called the Ratthole. We'll see what happens. You know, so
we'll figure it out.
We'll go from there. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and then we'll have more guests. We're working on we have some really good guests coming up on the Unusual Friends that I cannot believe that we've been able to, you know, get in contact with these people. And it just shows how, I guess there's people that try to support and try to help and, you know, don't mind taking time out of their day to help a group of guys that are just, you know, speaking nonsense and stuff on mics and just having fun. So it'll be interesting. Once everything's, you know, signed on the dotted line, we'll announce it and we'll have it available for everyone to, you know, contribute and things like that. But yeah, just like and subscribe. Guys have any topics you guys want to talk about, anything you guys want to bring up, if you want to be on the show, let us know. You know, we don't mind having anyone here from all aspects of Earth or whatever, you know, you want to talk about. We're game for it. So follow us on the next one. We'll see where this goes, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, bye.